ऐसा नाम, ऐसा नाम, ऐसा नाम, ऐसा नाम. This workshop is entitled The Power of Words and the Words of Power, Mantra and Shabad Guru. And so we're going to get into talking about those topics, words of power and the power of words, and Shabad Guru and mantra. And so we're also going to do some practicing with different sounds and trying to understand a little bit more about mantra and why that is so powerful. So I'm going to ask all of you to hold your questions. You might want to write them down, but hold them until the end, because I'm going to be focusing on just taking us through a whole process. Excuse me, and then I will allow some time at the end for questions and answers. And so let's start by tuning in. And so if you want to bring your palms together, and if Supran, you would post the Mangalacharan mantra in the chat. If those of you who might be new to this want to take a look at the words, that's great. The mantra is Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Sri Guru Deve Name. And I think the words are just now coming into the chat, and also the translation if you wish to look at that. So bringing your palms together at the center of the chest, sit nice and tall, just close your eyes gently. Inhale deeply. And exhale. And inhale again to begin. Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Sri Guru Deve Name. Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Sri Guru Deve Name. Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Sri Guru Deve Name. And inhale deeply. And you can relax, but keep your eyes closed. And I'm going to play a melody for that same mantra. And just join me, and we'll go through that, chanting the mantra, the same mantra, with this melody. Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Sri Guru Deve Name. Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Sri Guru Deve Name. Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Sri Guru Deve Name. Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Sri Guru Deve Name. Ad Gure Name, Jugad Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Sri Guru Deve Name. Gurudeve Namah Gure Namah Jugangure Namah Satgure Namah Sri Gurudeve Namah. Now if you just hold this energy, sitting very still, eyes focused at the third eye. And I'm going to sing some words, Gurbani, Shabad Guru, words from the Sri Guru Granth Sahib, that are intended as an invocation and are simply stating that all I do, all I am, is through you. All is yours. Tudhe aage ardas hamari, jiyo pind sab tera, kahu nanak sab teri vadiyai, koi naam na jane mera, koi naam na jane mera, koi naam na jane. Koi naam na jane mera. Now, while I've got the harmonium here, I would like to take you through a little experience with sound current. And so we're all going to chant together. And normally, if we were in the same space, of course, we'd actually hear each other. So we're going to have to imagine what that's like. There are 83 of us, 84 with me, 84 of us. And I want you to place your left hand on your heart center and your right hand over your left. And actually, no, I'm going to change that a little bit. I want you to put your left hand over your navel point and your right over your left. And just have that firm pressure, not too hard, just firmly at your navel point. And we're going to chant the sound ah. And I want you to just really open your throat as you allow that ah sound to come out. And I'm going to start here with this note. Ah. And that might be low for you. If that's too low, then you can go to So either of those notes work fine, and I'll let you find your own place with that. And we're just going to close our eyes. I want you to tune into how that sound is vibrating at your hands, at the navel point, and all the way up through your heart center, through your throat center, up to your third eye point. Feel the vibration of this ah the whole way. And we're just going to do this for a couple of minutes, just as an exercise to tune into sound and the way it affects our body and our mind and our spirit. Okay? So on your own rhythm, breathing whenever you need to. inhale. And exhale. And relax. You can open your eyes. We know this quotation from the book of John in the Bible. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And I like to think that that word is the same thing that we talk about when we refer to the cosmic Big Bang, that initial sound, that word, that vibration that started this whole thing. And to paraphrase another part of the Bible, and God said, "Let there be sound." Instead of light, I'm focusing on sound, because in my understanding, I'm finding that that resonates more clearly. Everything in the universe vibrates, from the movement of the subatomic particles in you and me and in everything else, to the movement of the planets and the stars in their frequency of orbits and vibration and oscillation and movement. From our study of yoga, we know that humans have a subtle sensory system of energy channels that we call nadis. And they flow through us and around us. And they are very much about how we energize our being, but they are also about gathering information. They are receptive as much as they are energizing. And so it's very much where we learn about our environment is through that sensory system. And it turns out that these nadis are very sensitive to sound and vibration. Sound is the primary sensory experience that we have when we are in the womb. Just think about that. You know, we're in the womb, we're not aware of tactile input, or little maybe the gravity and the movement within the womb, but we don't have speech, we don't have a way of vocalizing while we're in the womb. We don't have eyesight in the womb. What we do have is an awareness to sound. And so very much in the womb, and then initially within the first part of our life in this human experience, sound, auditory input, is the main way that we understand what's going on around us. And yes, we later have taste and smell and all of that, but initially it's that sound. And it's so meaningful. We get programmed in that first few months of life, both in and outside the womb, to respond to sound. We have, we relate to not the words themselves, because we don't associate meaning with those words yet, but we somehow identify tone or intent or something. When our mother is cooing at us or singing to us, it's not the words that are soothing us, it's the tone, it's the intent. The human brain, it turns out, is amazingly adept at retaining these sonic patterns, because that's what they are at that stage. We don't associate a lot of meaning to them. They are these patterns, and they get retained in our mind so well, in our brain, that 50 years later we can still recall those. We can bring them up in our mind, and we remember the lullabies, the simple melodies that we learned as infants. Our psyche seems to be pre-programmed to to respond to sound in general. In a preverbal state, of course, these aren't connected to meaning, but we're hardwired to respond to it nonetheless. And early humans, this is part of our evolution, early humans also used sound thousands of years before we had language. Excuse me. The oldest human artifact found so far is a flute made from an animal bone. And it dates from, as I say, thousands of years before language existed. So what that tells us is that early human beings used sound in some way to communicate with each other, and I would argue probably commune with the universe, with the divine, whatever understanding they had of that. It was the sound that was initially used to communicate all of those things. So then later, we developed language. Human beings developed language. And that meant that some sounds took on meaning, significance, power even. The sounds we make, the words we speak, they inform and they shape our next moment. They kind of bridge, they form a bridge from our internal intent and the external manifestation of that intent, especially when other people are involved. That's what our voice, that's what the words that we use bring about. When directed to other people, these words provoke action. When directed inward to that divine self, then that's about prayer, and that's about connecting in dialogue to our divine sense, our sense of divine self, both inside, outside, wherever you relate to that being. And these words that we use in our interaction become so powerful. One word can seal a loving relationship, and yet it can also destroy a lifetime of good actions. A word said in haste or in unconsciousness can undo all our best intentions. The effect of a word, good or bad, lives on beyond the moment that we said it. Right? We have memory. People have memory. They're going to remember what we said in that moment. With the wrong words, we tend to create karma. With the right words, we can avoid karma. With practice and training, we can choose our words with consciousness, with awareness. So I want to lead us now in a practice of using words in a conscious way. And we're going to use a mantra in English. It's called, the words are, God and me and God are one. And many of you may be familiar with it, but I'm asking Supran to put it in the chat area if you need to look at that. And in this meditation, I would like you to sit with your spine straight and your left hand over the heart, your right hand over the left, and just close your eyes. And as we chant it together, I'd really like it if you could just let that go deep within you. And both the sound current of it and the meaning of it. Allow yourself to just drift more deeply into the meaning, the sensation of it, the expanse of it. So just allow yourself to to dive deep into this. God in me and God are one. Me and God, me and God are one. God and 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 me and God are one. All right. This is a very wonderful mantra that anyone can use, with no experience, with no previous practice or familiarity with anything Kundalini Yoga or otherwise. Great one to teach children who may not be able to focus on learning any other aspect of meditation, but just getting them to chant that can be very soothing and relaxing. So now I want to talk a little more deeply about these words that we call mantra, these sounds. Mantra, man, mind, tra, wave or projection. So mind wave, mind projection, mind pattern. These are syllables with a specific effect on our mind, body, and spirit. And chanting a mantra, either aloud or silently, replaces the internal monologue, the monkey mind, and allows us to feel more steady, feel that our mind is more quiet, and we're able to direct our mind, focus our mind. So these are some of the benefits of mantra. There are others, physiological and spiritual. We can try to understand about mantra from three different perspectives. One is experiential, by practicing the mantra ourselves. Any mantra, we gain experience. We feel the vibration. We have either quick experiences or maybe over a long period we start to feel something with the mantra. And especially when we have the chance to chant the mantra in a group setting, we can really feel that power of the mantra. And so we have some experiential understanding of it. Then there's a devotional aspect, and this unfolds more over time, where we find that somehow the mantra unlocks our heart, unlocks our sense of compassion and love for the divine, for the infinite, for the universe, for everyone and everything. That can happen through the mantra, through the practice of the mantra, where we feel that devotion, that opening heart, and that arrival of divine grace. And then there are the esoteric aspects of understanding mantra, the technology of it, the mechanics of it, the theory of it, the history of it even, and the philosophy of it. We're going to talk about some of these things. In one workshop, we're not going to get everything covered, but we're going to touch on a few things, and then we're going to do some more experience in a moment. From my study with and experience of mantra, I believe that mantra is an essential sound within the universe. It's at the very core of the universe. And that the vibration of the mantra is very much like the DNA. It sort of defines the way the universe unfolds. And as we vibrate a mantra, then our experience of the universe is changed, is defined in new ways. And that in the moment of our chanting, in the moment of our experience of the mantra, there emerges a new intention that then manifests within the universe. The mantra is a sound key, and that it opens the lock to transcendent experience. But not all sounds work as keys, and not all sound keys actually fit the same lock. The study and the understanding of mantra leads you to start to know which sound keys, which mantras work for you, which are most powerful, which unlock that experience of transcendence for you. When we vibrate mantra and also shabad guru, which we're going to talk a little bit more at the end here, but shabad guru is a variation of mantra, but it has all the same principles. So when we vibrate mantra or shabad guru, and we overwhelm that monologue, that monkey mind, we find stillness, we find shunya. And what we discover is that these sounds, these syllables, activate our psyche in a way that affects the ego. The ego is that part of us that is insecure at times, tends to hold us back, tends to dominate only one way of seeing things. And so when we chant the mantra, it generally works that the ego starts to fade away, and we are left in a more neutral space, and that frees our spirit, our soul, to detach from our earthly affairs and entanglements, I'll call them, and be more able to soar in our heavens. Repeating the mantra is actually a creative and active endeavor. You're creating a new energy pattern within your mind. And within that pattern is the intention of conscious transformation. Repeating the mantra is more, well, repeating the mantra simply is replacing, the pattern that we had and introducing a new pattern. And it's not just what happens when we get an advertising jingle caught in our mind, and that seems to get stuck there, and all we can think about is that advertising jingle or that nursery rhyme or that song, whatever, pop song. But when we can consciously make the effort to shift out whatever is in there that's not really taking us or holding us into a more conscious space and replace it with the mantra, then we find that there is a new space that emerges within us, a new pattern of energy. If you get caught in repeating fear or hate, that's what you become. But if you're able to awaken your consciousness to bring in the mantra, to replace all that negative stuff, and the mantra is cycling neutrality and unity, then that's what you become. You become that through the mantra. You become the mantra. But which came first, the sound or the experience? Because these mantras came from somewhere. They evolved within human evolution, some of them going back thousands of years. So just as everything in our world came in, it existed, and then we named it, right? So we have to understand with mantra, that equation may be a little different. The mantra sound is created in the experience of consciousness shift. And it's an expression of that experience. But it also may be a recreation of that experience, or it may be both. Any meaning that we attach to that experience is then associated with that sound, that word, and is attached to the mantra sound. And, this is how the mantra, just the simple word of it, can mean something, can activate something, simply like that. In the same way that if I say strawberry, you immediately can picture it, you could even taste it perhaps. And that's the same dynamic that happens within our mind when we have an experience with a mantra, and then we bring that mantra back into our mind, and that activates that same experience just as quickly. But the fortunate thing is that you don't need prior experience to get something out of chanting mantra. In fact, many of us walked into a class or heard some mantra being chanted and immediately felt something or noticed something different. And so there is no requirement, there's no bar that we have to match to be able to step into the experience of appreciating and being affected by the mantra. We're all able to enter here, regardless of previous experience with yoga or with music, we're able to have our own experience. And it doesn't depend on somebody else's judgment of our vocal abilities or musical abilities. As we chant, we co-create a new awareness of the divine within ourselves. It's a merger of our finite self with our infinite self through that vibration of the mantra. Just as the presence of the divine is manifest through our vibrating the mantra, so too our true self starts to manifest. It can be said that we chant ourselves into fullness. Isn't that a beautiful way of seeing that? That as we chant, as we continue to chant over years perhaps, that we are actually creating a new self. We are illuminating our true self that's been there all along, but now we're bringing it forward. So that's the power that we can tap into as we chant the mantra. In very tangible terms, as we chant, we touch something, our voice, our human voice, which may be the closest tactile thing that we can experience of our soul. Literally, the vibrations we make as we chant are an expression of that hidden part of our being. And maybe you've had that experience, and maybe many of us have had that experience, where you feel connected to a deeper part of yourself as you're chanting. As humans, when we sing even, but also when we chant, the body releases hormones, dopamine, oxytocin, which tend to give us a warm, relaxed, and overall feeling of well-being. And this autonomic response has evolved over thousands of years within humans. And I like to think that it has done that to give us this tool of connection, one-to-one, all together, that as we feel connected through sound, it allows us to connect to a group. It enables us to set aside our insecurities and join our voice in a group process of creating sound, energy, upliftment, unity together. It bonds us, it unifies us. When people chant together or sing together, their breathing tends to become synchronized. And there comes an experience that we call entrainment, where we all line up in the same energy pattern. And that takes us to a new identity, out of our individual identity and into a group identity, an expanded sense of identity. And I know all of you have probably had that in groups. We are not able to do that at the moment with the COVID protocols, but we will have that again. Now, we are meeting right now at the time of Christmas. And there's a wonderful tradition in the West called Christmas caroling, where ordinary people get together and they form a group of singers, and they go out and they knock on doors and they share the Christmas carols, the songs of Christmas, and they sing them as a way to feel connected with themselves and also to share it with people. And I like to think that wouldn't that be wonderful going forward if we didn't need to wait for Christmas to do that. We didn't need to be Christians to do that. But we could find ways to connect with people and join our voices. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be professional. But join our voices in meditation, in mantra, but also in singing, and as a way to reach out and build unity with people, to see caroling happening all year round. interesting little fact about caroling is that it first appeared thousands of years ago, before Christ, as part of the pagan celebration of winter solstice. So you see how these things start to align. I want to take us now through an experience. Where are we on time? Okay. And that is with a mantra. So we've talked about mantra now, and I want to give us an experience with a very simple mantra, Ang Sang Wahi Guru. And this means within every part of me, the divine is present. And I think, thank you. So it's in the chat if you need to look at these words, and we're going to chant them, and then we're going to talk a little more after that. But so sit up straight, and in any posture that you feel like, Gyan Mudra or hands in your lap, just allow yourself to connect to the essence of this mantra, Ang Sang, within every part, Waheguru, the infinite divine is within me. All right, so let's see. Ang Sang Waheguru, 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 Ang Sang Vaheguru, 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 Ang Sang Vaheguru. Allow the vibration of the mantra to keep cycling within you. Hear it within yourself. Feel that energy. Allow the stillness the spotlight may be on the mantra, but the rest of the stage is just stillness. Breathe. In these moments of silence, allow what we call the anahat, the unstruck sound, to vibrate within you, to resonate deep within yourself, connecting, feeling. These words are ancient. Sang Waheguru. They express an experience of consciousness, an expansion of self, a connection from the smallest part of each of our cells out, vast, connecting to the furthest reaches of this universe. Feel that vastness as the cycle of the mantra just keeps going. That in itself is pulsing with the universal nod, that sound current. And now inhale. Deep, 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 deep. And relax as you exhale. So this is the experience that we dig for, that we are mining within our own self. We are seeking to find that space, to find that energy pattern, to set it. And at a certain point, then, the energy pattern takes over. And we don't need to expend any focus or energy on it. It just continues. And it keeps going. Even when we're off the mat. With enough familiarity with mantra, and you can choose whatever mantra that might be for you, then it is within you. It carries as you go through your day. It reverberates. Some of you are familiar with Japji Sahib, and that's a very long mantra. It's a composition written by Guru Nanak, and it has 40 parts to it, 40 stanzas, you could call them. And that, some people memorize it. But even to be familiar with it enough means that some of that starts to take hold in your psyche. It finds a home in the corners of your psyche, and it resides there. And how wonderful that is that it just somehow appears sometimes throughout your day. There is a particular body or part of Japji that comes into your consciousness. And this is a beautiful thing that happens with repetition, jap. That the repetition creates within our brain these neural pathways that become like superhighways of experience. And that the more we practice, the stronger those are, and the richer the experience that we connect to them. And so that, as I say, later they arrive, they're just there without having to strain or think, or they're just there. So that's one of the wonderful things that can happen through a long-term practice. Those of you who have that know exactly what I mean. And those of you who are starting on this, you can look forward to that arriving down the road a little piece. These words that we call mantra are words of power, for sure. And there are, in our traditions, there are other words of power. In the past, we've certainly heard about incantations, magic runes, charm words, spells, even curses. And then more elevated, perhaps, sutras, aphorisms. And the root of the word password, which comes from the Egyptian tradition of needing special words to pass through their underworld after death. So those pass words need to take you through the passing. But we also have contemporary words of power. Invocations, when we invoke someone's memory or presence. Affirmations. Many of us use affirmations as a way to bring the presence of a positive value or attribute, virtue within ourself. We have oaths that we take to behave in certain ways around certain things. We have mottos for organizations and institutions that are meant to guide us with principles. We have brand slogans like "just do it," that although they may be trivial on one level, they sometimes are, if they are working on all the best, if they're firing on all the cylinders, as we say, they even sales slogans may have power to inspire or engage us in life. So these are words of power. The mantra words are a different kind of power. So although there are the meanings that are attached to most mantras, the meaning of these words, the mantra words, the meaning is secondary. And people want to ask, well, what does this mean? Because they're saying it and they're concerned that what if they're just saying garbage, or what if they're saying negative things? So they want to know, and that's a human behavior. We understand that. But really the mantra, the point of it is the experience of the sound and the repetition and the energy that we feel as we do that. The experience of the vibrations is what makes it meaningful, less so the meaning. But when mantra words actually do take on meaning, then it starts to become prayer. When the act of saying the words embodies an intention that we wish to manifest. And one of the more beautiful examples I can give of that is Shabad Guru, is the Gurbani, is the words of the Gurus, the Sikh scriptures. But there are others, and I don't mean to focus only on this, but within my experience, they have been very meaningful. And the Shabad Guru, that energy that's within those words from the Sikh scriptures, is very much in line with the way that mantra works. So even though these words in Shabad have meaning, they are also devised in a way to give the experience of what they're talking about within the sound that you make as you say them aloud. It projects a wisdom teaching, but it also embodies that teaching within the actual sounds, and that becomes the focus and the goal while you're reciting the words. The point of chanting a mantra is to match your pattern, your mind pattern, to that of the sound current, the sound within the mantra. But when you're chanting or singing Shabad Guru, then the point is to match the pattern that underlies the meaning of these words, and perhaps to match the energy of the human, the guru, the sant, the composer of these words. Because very much, we relate to these words as being the embodiment of that experience that they are having. That ecstatic experience manifests in the words, and therefore as we say them ourselves, just as they said them, reciting the actual words that they said, then that energy field can be accessed from our psyche. Now, this is a tricky thing because it's interesting that when we talk about revelation, especially words that are revealed, like Shabad Guru, scripture generally, then people talk about having heard those words, having heard the revelation. They don't sit down and start writing and they don't see the words. They aren't revealed through a vision of words, but rather they talk about how they hear the revelation, as if the words are arriving pre-spoken, preformed within their consciousness from the divine. And I think that's a powerful thing to hold on to as we connect to mantra and Shabad Guru, that these sounds, these words, they are arriving in some kind of preformed way that allows the revelation of that experience to come forward. That the sound of the words is in what we call nod. And I mentioned this earlier, a kind of quality to the sound that transforms consciousness. There is a form of yoga called Nod Yoga, and it is a combination of rhythm and prana and vibration, correct pronunciation of those sounds, and that recreates the experience of the nod. And with that nod being present in the sounds that we say, it enchants the mind. And that's another interesting word, enchants. It creates that pattern of spellbinding within our own mind, right? It binds the mind to the spell of that energy field, that energy pattern, so that we feel that deep connection. We're able to put aside our finite self. We're allowed to witness the presence of the divine within our own psyche, within our own experience, within our own field of experience. And in that moment, then, the divine is accessible. The divine arrives in a way that we can recognize it. We can connect to it. The Shabad manifests what we call Shabad Guru. And Shabad Guru means Shabad is word, and Guru is that which takes us from darkness to light. So the Shabad Guru is the word that takes us from darkness to light. So the Shabad manifests that, and it takes us to that experience. And it's literally that as we sing the Shabad, we are bringing those sounds out in a way that creates the energy field so the presence of the Shabad Guru arrives. We feel it. And this is really powerful when you're in a group of people singing together and everybody's focused and the energy is building and you feel that presence, undeniable. So the Shabad Guru, which is sometimes called Gurbani, and that's fine, or just Bani, is also sometimes referred to as Nam. And this is a beautiful word. It means name. And the experience of the Nam is as important as understanding or being able to decipher the Nam. The Nam is both the vehicle and the destination, which is a really interesting take on it. So Nam is usually, we think of it as being the words from the Sri Guru Granth Sahib and from Dasam Granth, basically Gurbani we call it, but it's also deeper than that. The Nam you can recite Nam, you can study Nam, but many times throughout the message within these words, it tells us to immerse ourselves in the Nam. And, that takes a little while to decipher what that experience is, but that is about opening yourself to that vibration that we've been talking about, to that doorway to allow the experience of the communion with the divine within your own psyche, within your own soul, to be really connected and in communion with the divine self. And by doing so, it becomes your ideal identity. In that moment of recognition, of alignment, then there is that beautiful coming forward of perhaps original self, of ideal self, of essential self. And that in that we achieve a merger through the frequency of the vibration of the Nam and of the shabad and of the mantra. And by entering into this state, and we may tiptoe around it for a while, but sometimes we may feel our foot going a little deeper into it, and then more and more so. But as we do that, as we create that experience, then we enter into it more and more, and it becomes a harmonic resonance, a resonance between the divine and ourself. And we feel that connection that then is more long-lasting. We carry it with us between the finite self and that universal consciousness that we call the One. So we have about 10, 15 minutes here, and then we'll chant a little bit and end. So I'm going to ask if any of you have questions, to put them in the chat, and I will try to notice them and talk about them. I'm very happy to see so many of you here, and I am very thankful to 3HO for providing us this event to get together and be with each other. I'm looking at your faces and feeling very happy to be connected to people, even if we can't be in the same room. And that's wonderful. So, yeah, just waiting for your questions, but I'm going to talk a little bit about a little off topic here. I wanted to just let you know that as part of my work with Sikh Dharma International, I teach every Wednesday normally. It's a little bit chopped up schedule during the holiday time, but next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday actually, the 23rd of December, I'm going to be having a guest, a group of people actually, and their name is Mardana. They're a kirtan group from Germany, and they're going to play some music live, and we're going to talk about the music and talk about their recordings. So if you're not familiar with them, you might want to come and check out the program or go online and look at some of their, or listen to some of their music. This is part of a series that I've been doing for a while, since COVID started back in March. I started in April, I think, with this program, doing what I call home kirtan and chat, where different musical guests, kirtanis, people who play Gurbani kirtan or mantra, and they come on as guests and they play music and we talk. So that's what we're doing this coming Wednesday. And then, as I said, I'm taking a little break, a couple of weeks off, but then back in January, we'll start again with our rotating series every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. And those programs are, as I say, they rotate. One of the programs is called Dialogues in Dharma, and I usually have a guest where we talk about some aspect of understanding Dharma. And in January, I think my guest is, we haven't quite worked it out, but I think my guest, we're going to be talking about gender equality and women's position within Dharmic understanding. And so we're going to be looking at that. And another program we have in January will be the Roots of Sikh Dharma, which is a series that looks at understanding the history, the teachings, and the practices of Sikh Dharma. And so that's an ongoing series, and we will be doing part 4 in January. And another series that we do in January will be Your Miracle Mantra Moment, which a lot of people have been coming to over the last 9 months. And it's where we start out by chanting the mantra, the shabad, Dandan Randas Guru, for 11 minutes. And then we talk about a different aspect of either understanding that shabad or some other aspect of Sikh Dharma teachings. And I think that's what I wanted to say. So let's look at some of your questions. Let's see here. So Brenda is asking, do the Sikh mantras contain seed syllables as do Sanskrit and mantras? And yes, the same technology. Many of the words that we use within the mantras derived from Sikhi are actually from earlier versions of Sanskrit words. Not always, but that's true in some of the cases. And the idea is that many of the syllables break down. Just like the mantra Satnam is pretty unique to Sikh Dharma and Kundalini Yoga practice, but it's, we chant it also as Sa, Ta, Na, Ma, identifying those sacred syllables that are put together to make that. So that's one way that happens. Let's see, Hargopal is asking, how do you know when the chanting is in Nod? Well, that's an interesting question, and I can't give you a straightforward answer, because to talk about Nod at all it's very elusive. It's hard to define what that quality is. It's like when you ask somebody if they understand art, and they'll say, no, but I know what I like. Well, that's true of Nod as well. Sometimes you can't define it, but you can recognize it when you feel it. So there is that alignment of resonance, of rhythm, that seems to correctly work with the sound. And this comes forward a lot when people start creating their own melodies with mantras. And not every melody is going to work for a mantra, because it isn't going to allow the natural quality, that nod, to come forward in the sound if it's forced into a rhythmic pattern that doesn't actually flow with the natural sound of the mantra. When we think of a mantra like the Mool mantra, the words themselves have so much rhythm in it. You have to revere and recognize and actually sort of reveal that in any melody you might use. So as you're going, Ik Onkar Satnam Garita Purak Nirbo Nirver, there's this just rhythm that's right there. And so you have to acknowledge that and make sure that it conforms. Oh, wow, a lot of questions now. Let's see. So someone is asking, Rachel is asking about the Satanama meditation or mantra that I just mentioned, and especially when you do it with the fingertips. Satanama, Satanama. Yeah, that's very good for PTSD. It's really good for a lot of things, longevity, mental acuity. There's some great research being done on that. So if you Google it, I think you'll find a lot. Let's see. Simran Preet is asking, where can I discover more information about the Wednesday meetings? So If you go to Sikh Dharma International Facebook page, you'll see the postings there. Also, if you want to go through our YouTube channel, if you're not on Facebook, some people aren't, the YouTube channel, you search for Sikh Dharma International, and within the channel videos, there are different groupings of the videos, and there you'll see many of these programs that are recorded from the past, and also each week they get recorded there, so you can find them. Let's see. Tanya is asking, I find your voice and chanting so soothing. Thank you so much. Oh, okay. No question. Okay, well, that's fine. Comments are welcome too. Let's see. Yeah, they're not on the website for 3HO. It's just the way things work. But you'll have to find Sikh Dharma International. The website is sikhdharma.org. O-R-G. So SIKHDHARAMA.org. Oh, it's right there in the chat. Okay, very good. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, I don't see. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see. Do you find parallels in religious music of other traditions? I do. I do find parallels. There's a lot of devoted people in all traditions, and when those people put their practice into sound, when they bring that devotion to creating sound, I often find it's very meaningful. And I'm going to go one step further and say that there are many composers who have brought that same sense of divine connection into composing even, instrumental music. So that process of bringing something forward that is connected to the divine is something that many of the musicians who we all listen to, kirtan musicians, that's part of their process, that they are tapping into that in the best of moments. And then, as I say, also, Beethoven, in my belief, he had moments where he was definitely tapped in to that flow and the power and the meaning of sound in ways that most of us don't get a chance to. So, I feel like many traditions have that. Gregorian chant is powerful. If you get to witness it in presence, be there in person, and hear those sounds, and amazing technology that used to at least be used, they would have these huge books. I'm talking like, this as big as bigger than me. And they would have one person turning the pages, and everybody else would be standing around to look at the notation that would be not just notation of words, but also a kind of simplistic notation of the note to sing as well. And there are other traditions that I am not able to bring up in my memory right now, but lots of music has that connection. So and I'm not trying to steer you away from Sanskrit mantras too. Powerful. Just find what works for you. Okay, last few questions here. I often listening and chanting mantras when I do cooking in the kitchen, and I find really fascinating. But is this way unrespectful or disrespectful? Do I have to chant on the mat with meditation state? No, you don't. So that's what I was saying, is that the mantra can come with you. Wherever you go, whatever you're doing, the mantra can be there. My only caution is that if you're driving, operating heavy machinery, Just be careful that if you're using mantra, you don't allow it to take you deep away from focusing on the task at hand and being safe. So let's see. How would you explain the difference between chanting and singing? So that is a really good question, and it is hard to actually delineate sometimes, because a lot of times when we are singing a beautiful melody with mantra words, it does seem just like just like singing. And so then, is it deep enough? Is chanting a deeper experience of singing? I don't know where that line is. In fact, I think it's just fuzzy, and that there's no problem with that being sort of fuzzy. I find that there are experiences that we have chanting that are really much more limited with the melody. For instance, if you're familiar with the long Ek Onkar, Ek Onkar Sat Nam Siri Wah He Guru, obviously with not just one breath, that is a kind of chanting that has less to do with singing. But then there are a lot of chants like Guru Guru Wai Guru and others that have been put to melody. In fact, I can take that same mantra. Let me see. I don't remember the melody now. That's funny. But you can take the mantra and you can put it to a more singable melody. And the point of doing that is not just to make it sing-song, but to evoke an emotional connection of bhakti. So if a melody can take you deeper into a connection in your heart to that feeling of bhakti and that devotion and that opening to the divine, then that's powerful. I would say that the majority of kirtani musicians, they focus on that aspect largely, that they find a melody that can evoke something, that can connect to something that sort of adds to the experience of the mantra. And that isn't to say that the mantra isn't complete, but rather augments it. It gives it a little boost, a little sort of pick-me-up that takes the experience of the mantra into a very different realm. And I still, like I said, Guru Guru Wai Guru, Guru Ram Das Guru is maybe the mantra that gets used in that way, because it is about connecting to compassion and healing and devotion. And so when we sing it, we want a melody that takes us into that. But however, the mantra in of itself, even just a monotone, is powerful and meaningful. Guru, Guru, Vahe Guru, Guru Ram Das Guru. That sound current is powerful and unique, and in of itself is great. When you put it with a melody, sorry, I have to remember this too. Guru, Guru, Vahe Guru, Guru Ram Das Guru, Guru, Guru Vahe Guru, Guru Ram Das Guru, Guru Guru Vahe Guru, Guru Ram Das Guru. So as you see, you take that mantra and you put it with a melody that is moving, then suddenly there's another dimension that opens that door of experience a little wider so we can step in more easily. So that's why we have these different tunes and different melodies. And let's see here. I've got to wrap it up here. Let's see if one more question. If you just bring your hands together and we'll chant. May the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on, guide your way on. Guide your way on. Sat Nam. May you be blessed with peace. May you be blessed with health. And may you be safe. Sat Nam. Thank you all.